Hello, my name's Kevin Graham. Welcome to our Celtic State of Mind. Today, as always, I'm joined by Paul John Dykes.
Hello.
And today we're joined by John Paul Taylor. I'm going to get confused with this.
I know.
PG and
JP.
How are you going, JP?
I'm good, Kev. Thanks very much for asking me along today.
Now, everybody knows John Paul as the supporters liaison officer, but we're not going to talk about his day job. We're not going to talk about parking problems. We're not going to talk about how warm or cold the pies are at Celtic Park.
Or how wet the seats are.
How wet the seats are. We're basically going to talk to JP as a Celtic fan, and we're going to get into his Celtic State of Mind. Now, this is a kind of twist. We've asked JP to select 7 Celtic moments and soundtrack of his Celtic supporting life. So, JP, what's your first one?
The first one is my first cup final, 1972 against Hibs. I'd started going to games probably about a year or so before. My dad was a Hackney taxi driver, so Saturdays could be difficult, but we always went to midweek games, and I loved the European games. I think Youth Pestosa was probably my first one. Anyway, the cup final came round in 72, and I was desperate to go, nagging him the whole time, can we go? But as I've said before, like Saturday obviously been a busy day for Hackney drivers. He was making no commitments, so I didn't really know. He kept me hanging on right up until the last minute, but I can still remember him coming in and saying, right, cup final, we're going, get yourself organised, and away we went. And being your first cup final, and Celtic win 6-1, and Dixie scores a hat-trick and a wonder goal, and you just think, this is what happens all the time, isn't it? Because that's a natural thing, isn't it, really, just as a kid to think, well, why wouldn't we win 6-1? Celtic. So obviously it never ever turned out like that, and we didn't win every cup final 6-1. But interestingly enough, I was talking to somebody recently about this, and just looking back on it, it was the only cup final I ever went to with my dad, which is really strange considering that the both of us continued to go to football right up until my dad passed away. We always went to football, but we just went to cup finals separately. As I said before, with him being a taxi driver, he would try and kind of get close to Hampden on cup final day and then just get into the game. So I think the next one after that, I went with the Boys Guild, which I think might have been Airdrie. And then we played Dundee United, we won 3-0, and I went with my cousin. And each one after that, we played Rangers, I went with my uncle. I never ever went to another cup final with my dad. So it was the first cup final with my dad, it was the only cup final with my dad. It was my first cup final and we won 6-1 against Hibs. So it was a very, very memorable one.
And it was a battle of the greens back then, wasn't it?
It was, that was the thing. And there was a couple of things I just found out about that game actually recently, as I say. Bertie All's last ever game, he was a sub for Hibs that day, and it was his last ever involvement in football as a player. And the other thing that I discovered as well was we weren't actually favourites to win the game. Hibs were actually kind of favourites. They were well fancied to win the game, which I hadn't appreciated either. But if you go back to that Hibs team, it was a great team, with like Stanton, I think Jim Herriot in goals, Brownlee and Arthur Duncan, and maybe Alan Gordon up front as well. The Hibs were a great team in the days, and I know that obviously they beat us in the League Cup final as well, but I just hadn't ever really thought about it before. But we weren't actually favourites. Hibs were well fancied to win that, so to win it 6-1 so emphatically was also another bonus. But happy days.
And that was the kind of age, as you say, the lines were kind of being replaced by your Kenny Dalglish, Lou Macari, etc.
Yeah.
When you looked at that team and you looked at the incredible array of talent coming through, JP, did you feel we're going to dominate European football for a good number of years after this? I
think it's hard to say, Paul, just simply because at that age I was only young at the time, so I was only 7. But Celtic obviously had great success. It was still during the 9 in a row period. We had won the European Cup 67. We'd been at a European final 1970. So as a kid, and it's like a lot of kids now, it's like kids growing up at the moment under the Brendan Rodgers time, is that you probably just think that this is what happens. Celtic win the league every year, and why wouldn't they? But looking back on it now, I think the thing about that time was Rangers had a strong team, a pretty strong team as well, and did the treble twice in the 70s, not long after, and obviously stopped us from doing 10 in a row. So they were quite a strong team at that particular time. But I think a lot of factors get in the road there as well. It was coming to the kind of end of the time for Big Jock as well, and obviously then I think not long after that did he not have his car accident, and Sean took over for a while, and there was just a number of different things that probably prevented us from going on and being the force that we probably should have been, given, as you say, the talent coming through with Douglas McCarry and Hay and all the other boys that were coming through at that particular time. I guess that's just the nature of football, isn't it? Is that you kind of try and rise to the challenges, and then you try and take on the challenges for your local rivals, as it were.
So what track have you picked as your first track?
So, as I was saying, I tried to pick tracks that music that I would have been listening to at the time, but at 7 it's difficult. But there was always music about the house, because my mum had 5 brothers, and I spent a lot of time with my grannies in Provan Mill in Glasgow, so I was always in about that house where there was always stuff going on. My granddad was a great fan of Frank Sinatra as well, so there was always music. And then on the other side of the family, I had cousins who, again, were all into music, so there was a lot of music. So I was quite aware of music even at that age. But, you know, at that particular time, I think the big hits would have been like Lieutenant Pigeon and Mouldy Old Dough and Chuck Berry with My Ding-a-Ling. So, no, I never picked any of them. I picked Starman by David Bowie.
Oh, brilliant. What a track.
So I was very lucky. I seen Bowie in his last ever performance in Scotland at the SECC, and it was amazing. And when you go back, there are so many classic tracks at that time as well, because ultimately you then go on and you find Neil Young and stuff like that as well that were all quite successful. And obviously a lot of the sort of vocal harmony bands as well, or groups from America, you know, like say, even the likes of Stylistics, the Detroit Spinners, Detroit Emeralds, and all of that stuff was all happening, Motown stuff. So there was a whole plethora of music going about, but I just thought 72, Ziggy Stardust and Starman, obviously, and Patrick Roberts, it just ties in nicely.
Did you see David Bowie's famous performance on Top of the Pops, which influenced everybody from Morrissey onwards? Yeah,
I did see it. I remember seeing it at the time, because Top of the Pops was obviously a big thing, you know, going through the 70s, and when you were kids, then that was the highlight of the week almost, you know, to be able to see Top of the Pops. So you're obviously talking about the one with like Mick Ronson and that. Yeah, I actually do remember seeing it. I also remember Rod Stewart doing Maggie May as well. He kind of spun the pole that the mic was on, and that always kind of stuck with me for some reason. But yeah, I did. I remember actually seeing that at the time.
Was that the one with John Peel? Did Rod Stewart know the Maggie May with John Peel?
John Peel, I think, did he not play the mandolin or something? Yeah. Yeah, he did. He did do that. But there was a performance with Top of the Pops when he done Maggie May, and he picked up like the pole that holds the mic, and he kind of spun it round, and I was just like, whoa, that's cracking.
So here's David Bowie with Starman.
Didn't know what time it was, the lights were low. I leaned back on my radio. Some cat was laying down some rock and roll, that is all he said. Then the loud sound, it seemed to fade. Came back like a slow voice on a wave of fade. That wasn't no DJ, that was hazy cosmic jive. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He's told us not to blow it, 'cause he knows it's all worthwhile. He told me, let the children use it, let the children use it, let all the children boogie. Switch on the TV, we may pick him up on channel 2. Look out your window, I can see his light. If we can sparkle, he may land tonight. a starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He's told us not to blow it, 'cause he knows it's all worthwhile. He told me, let the children lose it, let the children use it, let all the children boogie. Starman waiting in the sky. He'd like to come and meet us, but he thinks he'd blow our minds. There's a starman waiting in the sky. He's told us not to blow it, 'cause he knows it's all worthwhile. He told me, let the children lose it, let the children use it, let all the children boogie.
Fantastic track, never gets old, that one. So what's your second game and your second track?
Second game is, I would still argue it's possibly even the best night in my life, which my wife probably wouldn't thank me for, but I would still say this is probably the best night of my life. It was 4-2 against Rangers to win the league.
Magic.
I can pretty much remember everything about coming home from school and just the total excitement and anticipation of waiting for my dad coming home for his work. And everybody that goes to football will know that feeling, but it's just that couple of hours between, just before the game, and you don't really know, it's too early to start heading to the game, but you just want to do something. So it's 1979. I was 14, and so still at school, but obviously at that particular time then I was very much into Celtic. It was still a very big thing for me. So the opportunity, given the circumstances of the game being postponed, and then it's now the last game and we're a point ahead. If they win, they're a point ahead. So essentially if they win the league. If it's a draw, they've got Thistle on the Wednesday or the Thursday, and they probably win the league. So we've got to win. And at that particular time I'd never seen Celtic beat Rangers. I think it was only maybe my third or fourth Celtic Rangers game, and like a lot of people would probably expect at that particular time, you weren't really allowed to go. Like the Wiggins weren't allowed to go. Celtic Rangers games, oh no, can't be going. So anyway, I'd reached the point where it was my rite of passage now to go to Celtic Rangers games. I was allowed to go. So I was just bursting for him to come in for his work. I was like, have we going yet? And he's like, no, I need to get my dinner. But just full of excitement. And we went with my cousin and my cousin's pal Jerry, and I think the boys maybe even obviously would have went for a drink and probably took a carry out in as well, in the days where it was still allowed. And we were at the Celtic end, at the pylon between the jungle and the old Celtic end, so it's opposite the main stand, as it were. And the usual, we were always kind of running late as well, because it was the extra pint and all that type of thing. And I can just remember getting into the stadium and it's the first time I'd seen Celtic and Rangers at Celtic Park. I think the previous games had been at Hampden, and it was just the sheer size you're looking across at the Rangers support. And it wasn't until later, till I went to Celtic, I found out 18,500 tickets they used to get for Celtic Park. It's phenomenal. But you've got this huge sea of blue and white, and of course they go one goal up, and it's just, your heart sinks obviously, because you're so much riding on the game, but you're hoping that you can get back into it, and it's looking as if it's all kind of going their way. It gets to half time 1-0, and then we come out and get a man sent off, and you're like, right, that's definitely doomed. And I think just anybody that was there on the night, they would probably agree that it was just, the sending off seemed to galvanise Celtic, and I don't think that it was like an unjust sending off or whatever, because I think from Johnny Doyle's point of view, he kicks, I'm pretty certain it was Alec MacDonald he kicked, but it
Probably
was stupid.
it.
Well, I couldn't possibly say, but it was a stupid sending off. It occurred in the middle of the park, and then so he gets the red card, and you're thinking, oh, well, that's probably going to be that. And then we get back into it, we get an equaliser, and then we go 2-1 up, and it's like, wow, this is the best thing ever. And then they go and equalise and make it 2 each, and you're like, oh no, that's definitely it now. It's definitely, so it's like the standard Celtic pessimism of that's that. They're definitely not going. We're no coming back now. It's not happening. And then it felt as if there was only like a couple of minutes to go. I think it was pretty late in the game though, and I think it's certainly in the 80th or between the 80th and 90th minute, and the ball swung away back to the back post, and everybody goes up and it hits Colin Jackson in the back of the nut and goes in, and you can imagine the scenes then, because you're getting close, it's close to time up, you're 3-2, and can you hang on, and you know that you're going to be backs to the wall for what's going to probably seem like a lifetime, and it felt as if it was backs to the wall. And then Murdo McLeod picks up the ball, and you're just like, don't get away, please don't get away, please just keep the ball, please just keep the ball. And he keeps going and he keps going, and you see him ready to shoot, and you're like, no, just keep the ball, don't do anything mental. And he batters it right into the top corner. And I honestly, the feeling of that, even the now, is still giving me the goosebumps, honestly. It just fired right in the top corner, and you can imagine what Celtic Park was like.
See what you were saying there, JP, right, about Murdo McLeod. Just keep the ball, didn't do anything daft. I spoke to Andy Lynch about that game, and he remembered it in minute detail. Now, you might not remember this, but as McLeod raced away, to his left was Andy. He was also making a run down the left wing, and he was shouting exactly that at Murdo.
Yeah.
And he says, you know, when he rifled this thing in, he was like, that's us, you know. And obviously it was voted the greatest ever goal against Rangers.
It was, aye. I think it might have been voted the greatest ever Celtic goal. And so it's just, it's kind of unfortunate, and for the people that were there, I guess the fact that the TV cameras went in strike that night and nobody got it. And I actually know 2 guys that left the game right at full time, because they're like, we'll go up the road, we'll get a carry out and we'll watch it in the telly. It wasn't on, and they missed all the celebrations. But it was just a pure outpouring of joy. It really was. And so as a 14-year-old, it was brilliant. It was really, really, it's quite a night. And I can remember we went back to the car, and for some strange reason, and I can never ever figure out why, but we seemed to take a detour and drove by the Bristol bar that night, and we waved out to the guys in the losing team. And I still don't really know why we did that, but we gave them a few salutes and a few hard lines, lads, as we drove by the Bristol and the Loudon.
I think the lack of TV footage has made that game even more mythical.
Yes.
And the footage which does exist of it, the moon landing looks better filmed than the footage that you've got. Somebody
filmed it on a handheld, and I'm not even sure why they did it, but it's turned out, and so you can see it, and it's quite grainy. But I think you're right, Kev. I think what's happened is it's kind of, it shrouded it in mystery, really, for the people who weren't there, and it obviously goes down in Celtic folklore again, just simply because it's a victory against the odds. You know, when all hope lost, they came up trumps again, and it's one of the things that we're famous for as a club.
And one of the aftermaths after that, the game that the Rangers had against Partick, I think the attendance was only 2,000.
Well, again, being a wee bit of a sado in all of this, I've actually still got the newspaper clipping for it, so I could probably come back to you and tell you exactly. Although I believe that if you talk to any Rangers supporter, it was probably about 100,000 people there, because none of them seemed to miss it. They were all there that night.
One of the best stories I ever heard about the 10 men winning the league game was from Charlie Nicholas, and because him and the ground staff boys all nicked the jerseys. Yeah. They all took them home, Danny Craney, Willie McStay, Jerry Crawley, and then they're in the jungle that night with the long sleeve Celtic tops on, watching the game, and people were like, where did you get that? Because you couldn't buy them in the shop, the long sleeves.
They were hard to get, Celtic jerseys, you know, back then, to be fair. You know, you didn't see an awful lot of Celtic jerseys going around, but no, that's a good story. I didn't know that, to be fair.
And they had to, sweep the terraces the next day with all the bottles and the cans and put them in the skip, you know.
Plenty of them anyway, that'd be for sure. But it was a great, great, great night. And you know, I'll go back to it because I think probably I was there with my dad as well. Obviously, adds to it a wee bit for me. But I honestly, I can't think of like too many nights in my life that beat that. We ended up going back to my cousins, a big carry out and all the rest of it. So you can imagine, just as a kid at 14, and I might as well confess, I dogged school the next day because I was just full of emotion and excitement. I was like, I'm not going to school, man.
I thought you were going to say you were hungover.
No, I wasn't hungover, but I know I never went to school anyway.
Was it a Monday night?
It was a Monday night.
Was it Monday night?
It was a Monday night, and I'm pretty sure Rangers played. So for some reason, I think it was a Thursday, and I've still got the feature. In fact, I tweeted it recently because there's actually a good wee article from John Doyle above it, just saying how he'd went into the changing rooms after the game and hung his head and just basically said, I've just cost Celtic the league. And when the celebrations came at the end, he was very reluctant to take part in it because he felt that he had put them under pressure that they didn't deserve to be, and he probably hadn't earned his right to celebrate in the same way that the rest of the guys did. But from what I can gather, I think they coaxed them on and persuaded them to join in because obviously it's over a season rather than one game. But but it is quite a good wee article, and as I say, there's a bit about the ghost game underneath it.
So what song?
So the second song from 1979, this was one, in fact, it was the first band I ever seen live. I went to the Apollo to see them. I'm pretty sure then it would have been 1980 when I went to the Apollo to see them. But my older sister was a year and a half older than me. Up until then, as I said before, like, music was a big thing in the house. There was always music going on, and I'd kind of started to listen to like kind of punk bands and stuff like that. So I kind of liked a lot of indie type stuff and stuff you can imagine at that age. You think you're
cool.
Yeah, exactly, self-indulgent. Oh, listen to this. Any road, cutting it short. My sister started kind of getting into a wee bit more of dance music, and she came home with an album called Risque, and the track she put on, the first track of the album, is Good Times Be Chic, and it was fantastic. So that kind of made me a wee bit quiet. I thought, hang on a second, there's a bit more to music than maybe I first thought. And so that's my second track. My second track is Good Times. So as I said before, not long after it, we went to see Chic. It was the first gig I'd ever seen. It was the first band I'd ever seen live. Seen them on the Apollo, and 3 days later I seen Sister Sledge. So that was the first two bands that I seen. So they were no bad.
Niall Rodgers,
fantastic, I know.
Fantastic guitar player, eh?
I'd love to speak to him and ask him if he remembers playing the Apollo that night in 1980. I'm sure he does. Apollo was a great venue, and a lot of great bands probably played there and remember their times there. But it was a good one to say it was your first.
JP, you've been an absolute legend. This has actually went better than what I
Loved it.
even expected. So thanks very much for your time.
A pleasure, guys, honestly.
Thanks, JP.
It's a great honour, really. Thank you. It's great to get asked along to do it, and I'm delighted to do it. Thank you.
Thanks,
very
JP.
much.
Thank you
Cheers.
so much.
A Celtic State of Mind's previous episodes can be accessed by searching iTunes, Spreaker, or your pre-installed podcast player. Make sure to subscribe and you won't miss our upcoming episodes with former players, musical icons, documentary makers and Celtic supporters. You can keep up to date with us and get in touch at Paul Dykes, at A Northern Pros and at Celtic Star Pod. We also have a new website, www.thecelticstar.com, and on that website we have a host of writers giving you daily Celtic news, including Jim Craig, who gives a morning blog. We also have contributors such as myself, Kevin Graham, David Potter and Scotty Allcroft. Tune in next week, we will have another guest with a Celtic State of Mind.